Midnight here with another special report. By now, you've probably heard the Electronic Entertainment Expo, or E3, has been cancelled, possibly for good. An ignominious end to one of the most prominent torchbearers for the video game industry. But why was it cancelled? First, a bit of history. E3 originally sprung out of the game industry's presence at the Consumer Electronics Show, or CES, itself stretching back to 1967. Almost from the very start of the North American games market, companies like Atari and Nintendo used CES to showcase their wares. That's right, in the mid-80s, you could have seen the Nintendo Entertainment System at CES long before it became a cultural zeitgeist. And after the NES single-handedly revived the games industry in America and well into the 16-bit era in 1995, the Entertainment Software Association, the trade group for video games, decided to branch out and form the Electronic Entertainment Expo. And so it's been until 2020, when, like the rest of the in-person world, E3 was cancelled due to COVID-19. And while a digital version was held in 2021, it was cancelled completely in 2022. Supposedly so the ESA could, quote, focus its resources on 2023 and return with a reinvigorated showcase. And that so-called reinvigorated showcase was cancelled again in 2023. But why? The official explanation from the ESA was the 2023 event simply did not garner the sustained interest necessary to execute it in a way that would showcase the size, strength, and impact of our industry. Which is just extremely unfortunate and a bit vague. Over the last 25 years or so, E3 wasn't the only video games trade show, but it was definitely the most prominent. And more often than not, the springboard for the biggest gaming news, not unlike its former running mate CES, which at least used to be the launch pad for every major consumer electronics superstar. From the VCR to the CD player, CD-ROM, Blu-ray, HDTV, and countless more. Actually, the E3 CES parallels might run a bit deeper and a bit more insidious. Back in 2015, Microsoft announced that the upcoming show would see its last booth and its last time giving the opening keynote speech, which for over a decade was the exclusive domain of Bill Gates. At the time, Microsoft claimed CES's January timing didn't line up with its own announcements, so they'd hold their own events. And while Microsoft never really pulled out of CES completely and they returned as a full exhibitor this year, the Consumer Electronics Show just isn't the same anymore. Yes, it's still a Goliath that takes over the entire Las Vegas Convention Center with booths the size of small cities and the usual glitz and glamour, but it isn't really the innovative showcase it once was. When I used to go in the late 2000s, the show's last big push was 3D TV, and needless to say, that crashed and burned. And there's a pretty decent parallel with E3 and this small up-and-comer called Sony. Back in 2019, Sony announced it wouldn't be attending E3 for the very first time. And they gave several different reasons, official and implied. Officially, Sony claimed the following. As the industry evolves, Sony Interactive Entertainment continues to look for inventive opportunities to engage the community. PlayStation fans mean the world to us, and we always want to innovate, think differently, and experiment with new ways to delight gamers. As a result, we've decided not to participate in E3 in 2019. Sony insisted they just didn't have enough news to make an appearance, but I think there were other factors at work. The most important being Sony's State of Play, a semi-regular digital event that coincidentally launched in 2019. With the State of Play, they don't have to pay for booth space and they don't have to compete with rivals for your attention. And they're not alone with that train of thought. While Nintendo still shows up to E3, well, when there is an E3, they also hold these Nintendo Direct online press conferences. And Microsoft has always done announcements on its own time. Neither will really be heartbroken if E3 disappears for good. I went to E3 round about the same time I habitually attended CES, and it was a grand old time. But I'm sure every company involved would prefer not to have to pay for the privilege while situated right next to the competition. So no, it wasn't anything melodramatic. Sony's seemingly permanent departure in 2019 didn't send the ESA into a panic and make them cancel E3 on the spot. But Sony's exodus does speak to E3's increasing irrelevance, especially in the era of streaming press conferences. And more than anything else, Sony's exit might have been the straw that broke the camel's back of E3. Because as of right now, the ESA has no plans for any future E3s. Thanks for joining me for another special report. Please remember to like this video and subscribe to my televisual program, and I'll see you next time. This is Jimmy Midnight signing off.